Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. Allow me to introduce our first grand finalist. In the blue, the rank 1 player in the world. It's the finisher. It's Serral. Up against the first Protoss player to qualify for a Premier Tournament Finals since Hero in DreamHack of 2022. Welcome back to Hero, the Smiling Assassin. A best of 9. Protoss versus Zerg for the Masters Coliseum. Over $40,000 on this tournament, but only one player can get the lion's share. Will Hero, for the first time for pretty much anyone not named Clem, be able to overtake Serral's dominance? Or will Serral have another day at the office? Either way, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. No, not even clever begging, Jimmy. Not this time. Not for the fun. How many? 1,241 likes on this cast, on this video, on this grand finals. And I'll cast another series. And I'll probably do it anyways. But hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Serral, the clear favorite. Serral, pretty much the favorite in all things that aren't playing Clem on an off day. And Hero is the greatest wild card. I guess Protoss in general suffers from a lack of consistency, but Hero more than most. His peaks are just as dramatic, usually more so than his valleys. But either way, it is an emotional, almost religious, maybe one might even say a zealot-required experience to be a Hero fan, because for every time he looks like the newest genius, there's another time he looks like a Diamond Leaguer who forgot to put his units on hold position. So starting things off on Equilibrium is certainly going to be an awkward one, as Hero is doing a proxy gate adept timing against Serral, who has opted for the gold base first. Well, not really first, but as his third. But instead of getting a bunch of drones, he actually... Oh, we saw it with the Overlord. I believe he pulled the Overlord back before the ground... Well, buildings and probes saw it. So Serral just... Well... Okay, he gets the pylon. Serral shut down the half-hearted attempt at early aggression here so far. More adepts are on the way back at home. Hero actually has more probes going into things. Wow, he pulls back and actually gets away. Minimalist Zergling aggression. Equilibrium is definitely one of our more interesting maps. And by interesting, I mean requiring of different sorts of strategies with that gold base and a rich Vespene geyser in the center. Hero trying to put enough pressure on to really tax the larva of Serral here, and ideally he would be killing a bunch of drones. Obviously that would be the ideal, but that's not always possible. The queen's coming down. Oh my god, Karen, really this early? It's game 1. How do you know that? That's super meta, Brenda. I don't... Hero? Making sure no drones can mine from here. Serral only on 37 workers during all this. It looks like he wants to do a Ling Bane attack. The Overlord got in and saw that Hero did not have a second gas in the main. He's taking a gold base now. It's all over the place in game 1. A recall is required. He'll get all the adepts out. But you know what they say, that which doesn't kill you leaves you permanently damaged unless you can like beg the Terrans for a medevac or something. And makes it that much harder for the adepts to be capable later on, which is quite a long saying in my opinion. Meanwhile, the gold base taken, Serral just targets it with the Zerglings, and will force the cancel. Eats a few Zergling losses. But at the end of the day, keeping Hero... Wow, this is awkward. The warp gate didn't finish. It's just mid-transformation, locked in there. Until the Zerglings finally take it out. The gateway is just a testament to... the failures of the past, until Serral finally removes it. Hero has a bunch of unupgraded adepts. He doesn't have glaives. He's going for blink behind. So Serral made all these Zerglings and has focused entirely on keeping Hero in check. He's not trying to kill him right now. It's almost exactly like check in chess. It's not necessarily to win the game, but it's to force such a response out of Hero that Serral can pretty much decide how he wants to play the rest out. And with this many adepts on the field and Hero clearly exposed trying to take the gold, he's decided just to try to catch the units out on the field. That gold base allowing him to get more income with less investment, less drones required. And now the Zerglings just wrap around. The Banelings are closing in. But that is nothing resembling a wall there. The Banelings are trickling through. Blast through the Adepts. I will say, Serral, not able to get as much success as he might have liked there. He traded a lot of Zerglings and Banelings for mostly just Adepts. So, a bit of a costly fight, actually, for the finisher here. And Hero, with 57 probes, may be able to bounce back out of that. Yeah, if we look at the incomes, even though Serral, he just filled up that gold base, I think overall he's going to be all right. I don't think he minds. I don't think Hero minds this position at all, as the sort of unit composition that Serral's going for. With the Zerglings, with the Roaches, he doesn't have Hydras. He's just now getting speed for his Banelings and his Roaches. Hero has 8 gates and counting. He's got the gold base, and he's actually walling off the backside. I've never seen someone wall off quite like that. Of course, Serral comes in, he sees the double forge. But Hero's going for this brute force gateway style that is kind of designed to brawl with the Ravagerling Bane. The biggest issue is if the Zerg has enough economy that they can just continue throwing units at you. But Serral did not. Serral went for a lot of early aggression, and now he's taking 2 more bases. And if that's allowed to continue, obviously Serral is going to have an economy that very Zerg-like can just overrun Hero. But now the army supplies are near even. Hero is going for 2-1. Serral's only going to have +1 melee. And this is a potential opportunity for Hero to take advantage of his relatively cost-effective gateway units before Serral has the overwhelming economy or tech to crush him. But we'll see. A hallucinated Colossus. Will Serral be convinced? Or does he even care? I don't think so. Either way, he's not even targeting the Colossus. He just bashes his way through. He gets rid of it. Well, he's literally cornered right now. The Stalkers are trying to run. Will he recall out of that tiny corner? But a huge warp-it into the main. And Serral caught off guard by the commitment. Only the Queens in the main base to defend right now. And while they can take a pounding, dealing it out is a bit more difficult with those unupgraded knitting needles. And here comes some more Zealots warping, and the Queen's being assassinated by the Zealots here. Meanwhile, it looks like an attempted run-by shut down easily. The Roaches and Ravagers have to come back. So a costly endeavor. He didn't quite get the Baneling nest. He will spot the hive on the way. Serral down to 68 workers, and behind this Hero took another Nexus. So he's sitting on 10 gateways. It's 63 to 68 workers. The economies are almost even here, especially since Serral's been having to run drones all the way around. So overall, while the supplies may seem pretty heavily in Serral's favor, he has poorly upgraded Roach Ravager and no Hive Tech yet. And even when he gets Hive Tech, what is it going to be? Ultras? He doesn't have a Hydraless Den. He doesn't have a Spire. So it's Ultras and maybe... Ooh, the Zealots reenacting the Legacy of the Void cinematic, throwing themselves into the Banelings. Hero poking and prodding. His supply is still uncomfortably low. He's starting to build some Immortals here. There's Viper. Viper Adrenal Glands. The attack speed upgrade for the Zerglings. The highest single DPS upgrade for the Zerglings outright. Of course, they have to survive to attack, but this army of Hero isn't so great at taking out Zerglings. He's adding in some Archons now. No Infestors out of Serral. And Hero starting to get a more comparable army. He does have a 2-upgrade advantage, and the only upgrade is that melee attack, which is not so great against Stalkers and Archons. The Roach Ravager rolling up here. The Zealots want to trickle in. A couple of Immortals. Hero! No! Immortals is more like a brand name. He loses the Prism! Oh no! It's a disaster! Hero and robotics units have a love-hate relationship. I think I've said this before, but I'm feeling pretty lacking on the love right now. As he loses 2 Immortals and a War Prism. I think there were some units in the Prism as well. And now there's nothing to really tie Serral up at home. Last time it was the War Prism that kept Serral's counterattack from being particularly effective. That War Prism is dead. +3 weapons done for the Protoss Gateway Army, which means this is surprisingly effective here with the Mass Blink Stalker. A Viper is wandering up. Another Immortal is finished. Shield Battery's helping out. He could yank the Immortal and get over here. Brings the Immortal right into the midst of everything. The Immortal gets a few more shots off. The Corrosive Biles actually land somewhat on the Stalkers on the way out. But Hero, with the power of those upgrades, will hold. But we have to ask ourselves the eternal caster question. At what cost? Right now, Hero has lost more gas and a similar amount of minerals. Not a situation you want to be in as a Protoss against a Zerg. Especially when your units are supposed to be more cost-effective with these better upgrades. But Hero has lost some of the most key units at the most key times. And that has cost him dramatically. I want to hear it, Jimmy. I can't see the fire attack. We don't need to... Sorry. It's impossible to find good help nowadays. Like and subscribe so we can afford it. 194 to 130 supply. Hero, against Raynor, in the same tournament, was able to turn around that late game into his favor. But Serral is a patient man, and that's a bit of an understatement when compared to Raynor. He knows that give Hero enough time and he'll make a mistake. And even if he doesn't, there's always a better option than fighting directly into an entrenched position. He finds the gold. Baneling's rolling into the third simultaneously. The Viper may get taken out, but 15 probes. And the Viper's still alive. He goes for the Viper, but he blinks in the Stalkers for it. I don't know, Kev. The Baneling's rolling in. The Viper may have done its job, even though it didn't do anything at all. Your purpose is to die. Oh my god. The Baneling's rolling in. Essentially a biomass plate. Gets the Archons. The Corrosive Biles hitting the edge of the Nexus and the Nexus itself, knocking it out, triggers the barriers on the Immortals. And Serral is putting on a clinic right now. He doesn't have any Hive Tech besides upgrades. He had one Viper and Adrenal Glands. But he's fighting this better upgraded... Oh my god. Hero notices. Hero, though, does have a good enough army that Serral's thinking about Broodlords. Oh my god, how many? Okay. That's a bit optimistic, don't you think? And a drop in towards the main. I don't know how much more Hero can take. The Zerglings overrunning the gateways. The Stalkers coming back. The Zerglings just ripping through everything. The Roach Ravager to the south. There's still that Warp Prism at the back, but the Queens... Hero sieged it up, so the Select All Army Hockey doesn't bring it back. But Serral is just picking him apart. I don't know if we'll make it to Broodlords. There is the small opportunity for Hero here. If he survives to near... He has to get as close to 200 supply as possible. He doesn't have Storm. He doesn't have Colossi. But Immortal Archon Charge Lot with better upgrades should still trade well enough. And this is about as close to 200 supply as I think he's going to get before Serral goes for the next level of tech, which should be the Broodlords, in order to exploit the relative weakness of anti-air with this army. Stalkers are finicky creatures indeed. And Archons are really of more of a win more against Broodlords than they are too much of a help. But the main army, there's enough Banelings here. There's no other sort of fight going on. There's nothing on the other side. So Serral is just bearing down on this base and rolling through the Immortal Archon. Gets past it, blasts through the pylon in the battery, sprays out some Corrosive Bile, kills some probes. Stalkers will chase back. 84 Zerglings in production. Serral, a rare moment where he runs out of larva. Of course, he ran out of larva because he was making almost 50 larvae of Zerglings. But still. All the hatcheries. We'll go to the Serral cam for a moment. As he decides... Yeah, he's got... He injects... He's actually rallied out Corruptors. He sees the Prism. So he's rallied out those first Corruptors, which will eventually become Broodlords. Serral playing one of his quicker games here, actually. I mean, a lot of Zergling production, but 550 APM. Some injects, making sure all the banelings are set. Spots the army moving up. I think a bit notable so far is the lack of infestors, and only trying one Viper. Thing is, against an army that is more ground-based like this. Oh, he took out the Warp Prism. Honestly, Infestor Viper is not that incredible. There's not those key units. Maybe you can Neural Parasite Immortals and Archons, but there aren't really the key units to worry about, like Colossi or Carriers, things like that. So right now, if Serral just has enough army supply with Banelings in the right spot, but Hero kind of quietly, but he's made it up to near 200 supply. And this army from Serral is definitely, it's a bullying army. You want to have way more supply. The Archons trying to hold the line, minimize the splash of the Banes. Banes rolling through, but Immortals and Archons are not premium targets for it. More Immortals at the back, and Hero, okay, wait a second. 94 more Zerglings in production. I've been singing Serral's praises, but maybe it's time for a bit of a respite. Now, Serral has taken so long to make it to the Broodlords that Hero has been able to maintain the core of his army. Well, Hero has an army that's great at fighting, but as soon as he goes onto the creep and gets surrounded, it becomes a bit more of a rout. And Serral's upgrades are slowly but surely catching up to Hero. That's so many Zerglings. Alright, the Archons, only Stalkers are not going to match the Zerglings. Serral only splits off Zerglings to deal with the Stalkers mid-fight. Partitioning his army super efficiently. Meanwhile, a Warp Prism comes in. 30 probes already dead, though. Serral may lose a few drones. Well, we'll see if the Warp Prism... And another Immortal rallied out! 34 to 4 workers killed. I don't know. Hero just took critical damage. He's warping in. He's using most of the rest of his money. He's down half the supply. 85 to 185. The two Corruptors just running around killing prisms. And Hero. He just never got anywhere with... Serral just stiff-armed him the entire game so far. It's not over, but it's just Immortal Archon, and the Archons are evaporating. The Warp Prism can't hold enough units. The Immortals go down. The Zealots melted, and there's nothing left. That's GG. Game 1 goes to Serral in a decisive fashion. 700 Zerglings. But Serral was 4,000 gas. More cost-effective against an army that's kind of designed to be cost-effective. Or at least comparable in the late game. Which... God. The Accountant. Which is not nearly as an exciting nickname, but if he had one. Because Zerg's known for their cost and efficiency. Zerg's known for just throwing... thousands of units at the problem until the problem is either solved or they are. But Serral, he nickel and dimes those Zerglings, that larva. And he makes it look inevitable. Which, in his own words, just pretty standard business. God, I don't know. I see your comments. Okay, believe it or not. I do think we've turned a corner on Serral, though. At some point, many people, I think it might be because he looked a little bit mortal against Clem. But we've turned a corner from Serral is boring to watch because he just wins everything, to really trying to understand why and how I'm being impressed by it. I don't know. Maybe that's just putting a more positive spin on it. I've done my best to show why and what and explain some of the details that... A lot of the details of Zerg, You'll see the, well, you just A-move banelings. No, A-moving banelings is wrong. Nobody A-moves banelings at this level. If you watch closely, Serral right-clicks his banelings into certain areas so they absorb the maximum amount of damage. Because when the baneling dies, well, it has the same effect as A-moving the baneling. So if you just A-moving the baneling, the first Archon that gets into intimate distance, you're just gonna explode like that. That's a premature baneling explosion. And while premature explosions may be your strong suit, YouTube commenter, that is not what Serral's all about. He explodes his banelings at exactly the right time, in exactly the right place, for maximum effectiveness. And that is something that is, one, not super obvious during the fights, because explosions and drama, and 50 times the spell effects, rather than the potato quality these players are playing on, probably don't even have, any of the ragdolls or any of that cool stuff going on. Just units disappearing from existence when they die. Hero goes with the Void Ray. But little details like, honestly, I think that's the most obvious yet overlooked part of playing Zerg, is baneling control. The difference between A-moving 30 Banes and 100 Zerglings and controlling 30 Banes and 100 Zerglings is the difference in almost all of these fights. Because if Serral was A-moving... If he was just A-moving his banelings, Hero would have walked over him with Archons. I feel like I'm defending against something that doesn't even exist. It's very clear how good Serral is at these things. Hero also made very few efforts besides a single Warp Prism to really drag him out of position. But it just felt like he was a step behind. On his average day, Serral does make it look like Zerg is on... Serral is a statistical outlier. His win rate so much higher than any other Zerg that in... I'm not a statistician. All right? I don't do the math here, but literally having over a 90% win rate when the next best player is like Dark at 65 definitely creates some interesting statistical anomalies, aka Serral being very good. And who knows? Maybe Hero turns it around and comes up with some... I think it has to be a new build. That's how Protoss do this queen. So many lasers! But another queen pops out at the perfect timing here. But both of them get out. Oh, that is annoying. Unironically pretty standard business, though. Just does everything a little bit better. I can appreciate that. Citizens arrest onto the Adepts. So the Warp Prism... Not the Warp Prism, sorry. There is no Warp Prism. Not because it died this time. But the Void Ray leads itself in... Well, the Void Ray is for denying scouting. You can do a little bit of defense. It's not usually as reliable as Oracle's, just doesn't have the DPS. But denying Overlords into Charge Lot +1 double Robo. The, stiff arm build here, where you kind of bully the Zerg into going roaches and then try to obliterate those roaches with Immortals. I'm sure Serral's seen it before, but that doesn't make it that much less effective, as +1 Zealots are able to two-shot Zerglings with 2 swipes as opposed to just 1. This is a massive damage up. They don't attack particularly quickly. Also, just having more weapon upgrades helps against more heavily armored units like roaches, like queens. And so in general, this will force the roaches out, and the robos behind are designed to take advantage of the follow-up, because Hero's not trying to win the game right now. He doesn't have +1 or charge yet, and he's showing up. He's trying to make some progress beforehand. Serral. Queen and roach. And, okay, he's just gonna right-click on the hatchery. He's gonna get it, and with charge... also gives that base movement speed. So the Zealots will be able to get out. Immortals are already on the way. Serral knows exactly what this is. He starts a Spire. Because if there's one thing that deals with this, surely it's Mutas. There is Blink to follow it up, but Hero? Well, he does have a Stargate, but if 5-10 Mutas... fine, those are 2 very different numbers. It's not just twice as much. It takes 5 Mutas to one-shot probes, which is good. But having 10 Mutas and you can start fighting Stalkers as they warp in, you can easily take out Phoenixes if they aren't microed for half a second. And Serral is starting to bank up money. He's already built the roaches. He's getting roach speed. He's shown Hero everything he needs to think he's going for Roachling Bane. So, 8-10 mutas coming in, even if you have Blink, even if you've built a Phoenix or two, that's still a lot of dead probes, potentially. And then, Serral can pretty much do whatever he wants on the ground. And notice what he's doing right now. He's attacking as the Spire finishes. Because even though it might look a little weak here, and he's clearly not going to get game-ending damage, this is just keeping Hero busy. He's not thinking about it. Serral built the Spire as he was defending the first attack. He's already thinking 2 steps ahead. And it's not... Hero should know that this is a possibility. He's setting up his defenses on the ground. The Oracle... Well, I think he may have spotted the mutas. Somehow they slipped by. He started a Templar Archives. He didn't quite tag the mutas. And right now his anti-air is 1 Void Ray and 2 sentries. Which is, and this is true, not enough. There are 9 mutas on the field. I'd be surprised if Serral builds another muta this game. These 9 mutas are going to do much more than 9 mutas worth of damage, no matter how you measure it. The existence, he's forcing out the Stalkers, which are a relatively costly unit just to play defense here. He's building Phoenixes. He cancels, was that the Templar Archives? No. Oh no, and now he's just wandering in with the charge lots. These mutas have caused a severe mental breakdown. 15 probes. Hero just dropped every ball in the air right there, and some of them that he hadn't picked up yet. Wow. Well, it seems like a simple solution, and this is why this build kind of fell out of style, by the way. I know we've seen a few Protoss make use of it, but... And it found success in those few games. But Serral's seen it one too many times, which is usually about 1 time. And he picked out the perfect response. The kind of not a very committed. Having the Spire is great. The mutas killing probes and forcing Hero onto the defensive. The only upside right now for him, for Hero that is this is one of the hardest maps to actually end the game. Hero is well turtled on 4 bases. He doesn't have Storm. He canceled his Templar Archives and rebuilt it. Serral diffuses the stasis there. Some more Zealots to the north side. Kind of surprised Serral even used the Banes. Now watch the Banelings. Well, they're stuck behind the walls here, which isn't great, but he's right-clicking through. As the Banelings die, they explode. But he's using every bit of it. He rolls them back. He's using them as a biomass shield. And now, well, the Immortals in the backline clearly not doing incredible there, but it allows him to break through all the way to the next base. Behind it, he's building 60 more Lings, a bunch more Roaches, Greater Spire, +1 ranged attack, +2 melee, Adrenal Glands, a Partridge, a Pear Tree, and a new car. Now, but Serral with a full and decisive success, despite the cost. Definitely, this is one of those games where it's not about being cost-effective. It's just about being effective. And the objective was to destroy the 4th and as much of the army as possible. Objective accomplished. He knows exactly what Hero is building. That Spire once again coming into play as he's made the Spire great again. And Broodlords, the clear follow-up against an army that has minimal anti-air and is mostly Immortals. So, looking very solid for Serral in Game 2, who's been mining from the gold. He has a near 1,500 or so income advantage. A lot of that, well, both gas and minerals, significantly more going towards our finished player. And I'm hard-pressed to see Hero doing much about the Broodlords. Adrenal Glands completed. Zerglings fully upgraded. Their metabolics boosted even more. The Broodlords are spotted, but what is Hero going to do about it? He's got to defend. Playing defense. Serral has the rest of the map. Alright, he could take those top right bases if he wanted. Hero going to be... Serral just broke it again. He's at 205 supply. Did some spine or spore cancel in there. So he's like, I just need a little more supply. 4 more brutes. So right now, 122. Here come the queens. Brenda, we march! We've arrived. Wow, the rush distance is very short on this map. You're short, Dorothy. Oh, that's rude. I'm just hazing. I don't... She's new. Oh, and using the creep drop. Gonna try to get some creep spread here. The queen's actually kind of getting caught out in front. Bit of an awkward fight from Serral so far, losing several broodlords. The archons, yeah, this not going incredible. The void ray as well. The immortal archon. Only 3 or 4 broods survive. The roaches are breaking through. Serral with 80 zerglings behind. But I will say, that did not go great for Serral. That, well, as is customary, at least one immortal wanders out into the fray. Another 80 or so zerglings. 84 zerglings. But Hero holds. And Serral definitely losing 3 or 4 extra broodlords. He probably shouldn't have there. The broodlings coming out again. Broodlings benefiting. Notice the broodlings don't get adrenal glands, but they do get melee attack upgrades and carapace, so they got that going for them. Not that they're particularly hardy creatures. Trying to break through the wall, but Hero is not giving it up so easily here. Serral with a bit of a ham-fisted attack against the one of the strongest, not really strongest, but just like the beefiest Protoss army. Well, he distracts with the banelings and easily deals with the Nexus to the north. Still, though, the map is fully fully in control for Serral at the moment. The counter to Broodlords on paper is Carrier Tempest. That is the ideal. With, well, Storms are pretty good, but doesn't quite land it on the Broods there. But without Carrier Tempest, you are just kind of buying time to try to get the Broods out of position. Now, the Blinkstalkers come forward. Good Storms on the Brood, starting to soften them up. 3-3 is done, so these are some... Oh, again? But the Banelings are coming in, a lot of them melting to the Storms. It doesn't take much, but the Broodlords and the Zerglings closing in. He's gonna... Okay, that was... That one person's like, I tried, guys. He didn't try very hard, but... Hero again, being overrun on the field. He made a good effort at dealing with the Broods here. Didn't feel like he had the time nor the resources to go for that late game tech, which is why he's trying to fight with Blinkstalkers. And if Serral had 2 less bases and half as many Broodlords, maybe it would have worked out, but not this time. Serral comes through with a decisive victory yet again. Took a little longer than I expected, but he read him like a particularly low-level book. I was trying to make a grade school joke, but didn't really come together before I could think of it. But the point being, Hero did, and that is the eternal issue with Protoss strategies, is this strategy cropped up a couple weeks ago, but the Zergs have adapted, or at least Serral has adapted. Not only did he adapt to that strategy, but he not only knew how to defend it, but he knew how to dismantle it as well. So that is the major difficulty of playing Protoss at this level, is very simply trying to find another card to play, especially against someone like Serral. Here we go on Radicid Station. This is definitely our most dramatic late game map, partially because it's almost impossible to attack into the first 3 bases. Golden Ore is hard, but this one is almost literally impossible because of the mineral wall. You need Nidus, you need Warp Prism or something like that, but a direct attack is almost certainly not going to happen. I think Serral he knew what card he was going to play, so he called his bluff with the charge lots and then knew how to deal with the Immortals. I feel like Hero was committed to it, even though Serral clearly was ready. It's one of those, like, you have to decide pretty early on as Protoss, as your tech is very expensive. It costs 150 gas for a Stargate. It costs 100 gas for a Twilight Council, plus another at least 100 for any upgrades. So you're already out 250 gas for any sort of tech path you want to take. So that is why Protoss builds usually don't have the flexibility to kind of split off into another direction without a bit more preparation than that. You can't just be making 3 Phoenixes because Mutas might exist at some point. Of course, Zerg does struggle with tech as well. But if Serral had gone Mutas and for some reason, well, Serral actually scouted with the Overseer and he saw the follow-up and he saw the gas geysers. I gotta point that out. Is Serral always seems to get enough vision. He always seems to know. That's part of the accountant Serral that I talk about. But it wasn't like he blindly went for the Mutas. He had confirmed that there wasn't, or at least it was incredibly unlikely to be like double Stargate Phoenix follow-up, which would be a hard counter and potentially put Hero in a good spot, but Hero didn't even see the Spire, so that's like mind games within mind games. Oh my god. Almost gets a probe. There are more Zerglings at the gates. I'm not, and yeah, Serral does not want to play late game here. I don't really blame him for this. I vetoed this map as Zerg like 2 days into the season, but in a best of 9, you can't veto any maps, so. An Overlord drop into Nidus for the beachhead. A double Overlord drop, a Scarlet build. Serral breaking it out. Hero has 1 Oracle. The Nidus is nearly completed, but the Zerglings are inside the house. Uh-oh. And the Nidus behind... Oh my god, he's holding. He's waiting. He's in the dark. And what Hero doesn't know will very much hurt him. He dodges the Oracle with the Overlord. Oh no. The Zerglings in the main. The Nidus pops out. We've arrived! I don't... Where's everyone else, Karen? I don't... Only 2 queens here. Uses the Nidus to micro. 12 probes down. Serral only has 18 drones. So, even though this is a lot of damage, it isn't quite critical damage yet. Okay. It's getting there. Well... Yeah, well... The Overlord will kill... Or, not the Overlord. The Overlord killed nothing besides its own self-esteem. The Void Rays will deal... Well, the Void Ray and the Adepts will deal with the Nidus. The Zerglings killed a lot of probes, but I don't think that... I think Hero comes out on the better end of this exchange. Awkwardly, there's still a Creep Tumor in here. I'm surprised he didn't use a Revelation to get rid of it, but otherwise... Yeah, well... Hero had everything at home. If the Oracles were across the map, which I think Serral was banking on, so Serral tries a cheese, and, well, Hero just deals with it. This map is pretty notorious for Zergs trying to kill Protoss before they can get 3 bases. That is a staple. It's more often than not. Hero anticipating it in this case. The mind games and the map games here. This isn't the ladder where you just pick a random cheese on a barcode. You do have to play to the map in the full series. And Hero getting the better end of this exchange. So now we're in one of those kind of... Well, Serral doesn't have very many choices. Serral's choices are very clear right now. Either he tries again, or he plays defense and hopes that Hero messes up. Because Hero... Yeah, he has triple Oracle. He's building Moracles. He's gonna burn through the Queens. He can kill all the queens. Serral uses the Nidus to micro. He could maybe put his drones in the Nidus as well. Oh my god. Hero's coming back to defend. Serral's actually gonna finish another Nidus. So Serral mitigates the damage. It's still significant on the other side, but a creep tumor is dropped in. Serral's making a mountain out of this lumpy molehill here. It's still, well, he's gonna deny the third. A little pylon wall there from Hero. He knows the position he's in. 5 oracles. Okay. Doesn't need them though. The Zerglings, one at a time, please. Oh, awkward part of a Nidus. And the Nidus is dealt with. Serral has 36 drones. A fleet beacon on the way for Hero. A Hydra is dead. No, never mind. I take it back. Serral actually decides on a third. I think we've reached the point where Serral's just gonna macro it out. And he's just gonna try to hold. He's building more drones. There are 5 oracles on the field. No, that's not enough. That's not enough oracles, Hero. Hero. Get off my creep! There's no... Oh, that was just a mistake. 1-to-1, the oracles can win, but it's costly. You need at least 1 more oracle than there is queens, and then you have to know... 1 HP. I don't know what that was. I mean, that was a mistake, but I'm wondering... Did he... The queen count may be larger than it appears. That was clearly more queens than he could deal with the oracles. I'm not... That's a big mistake at this stage, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much as Hero has 15 worker advantage. He's building carriers, which is this is dangerous because he's letting Serral live. Now, how would he transition this into an attack? I think this would be the game to go for the charge and +1, potentially. Because Serral doesn't really have the larva, the bases, the tech to deal with that ground-based army. But carriers are always a good solution if you can get them out with relatively little contest. And right now, Serral is down 40 supply as a Zerg against a Protoss who's turtling to carriers. So certainly, his aggressive potential is quite low. Templar Archives, the carrier count growing. What a Protoss indeed. He's like, can't attack me, I'm gonna make some carriers. Like I said, Hero, sometimes the best Diamond Leaguer in all of professional StarCraft 2. Is he actually gonna try to take down those rocks on the outside and then... It looks like it. We got now the charge. He's pretty much getting the rest. Charge +1. Serral hasn't even started mining the little mineral wall at the back of back base. Serral, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a spire. Well, has he seen the fleet beacon? No. He has no idea about the carriers. The Hydras, I think, are just hedging his bets. Like, if Hero decided to make moracles and just continue down that road, the Hydras are somewhere... Okay, now here's an overseer. This is important. This is a very important moment. Yep. He sees the carrier count. He uses the little siege up there in order to see the rest. Serral goes for the infestation pit. So, hive, infestors, neural parasite, potentially. No burrow on the way. Serral's only at 53 drones against 70 probes. And Hero going to take the gold base in the center. I kind of forget this base exists until people... This is usually the last base on the map, really comfortably... Hey, my life for ire, am I right? Have I met you? Yeah. We met at the Twilight Council meeting. You don't remember? Yeah, I'm just doing my rounds. All right, that. Neural parasite. Wow. You're Serral channeling his inner dark. We all have a little dark inside of us. It's consensual. The infestor's on the way. And this is the... If Hero makes one massive mistake, the infestors and the hydras and the queens can turn the game. But there's going to be even more carriers than there are infestors. He's already got the gold base. He's got the upgrades. Hero needs to max out and attack as soon as possible. The biggest danger is drawing this out into a stalemate, of which Serral is literally the best in the world at controlling. He's the best in the world at a lot of things, but Stasis does something. Comes in, the non-Stasis drone's now gonna get the Oracle, trying to avenge. Oh my god. Why are they so fast? Oh! The Hydras take out the Oracle. Hero now getting the rest of the tech tree, it seems. Serral up to 70 drones. Oracle's on the way. He actually lost all of them. 5 Oracles dead. Not that many losses overall in this game because of the early aggression from Serral. Kind of limiting the amount of units, especially Serral was able to produce. Charge Lance here. Another base being taken. Hero kind of treating this as like a build order simulator. How quick can I build up to Carrier Templar? The Hydras. One by one, please. Actually, a bit of an awkward fight there. Hero. Hero and Warp Prisms. Okay. Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Double Ruptor? Wow. Heroes, really, he's got his wish list of Protoss. Observers also important. Aspire on the way. Serral, how many infestors? He's got 8 infestors, 20 hydras. There are 8 carriers on the field. Yeah, Hero has... He's just casually building up the best Protoss army that on paper is nearly unbeatable. Serral, of course, wrote the book the paper is written on, so that made sense, but... Ultralists on the way. The Ultralists are for zoning out the Templar in this fight. The Ultras don't counter carriers, but they do make it hard for the Templar and Disruptors to focus on their targets. Because as the fight starts, the Ultras might be able to close the distance and just chew them up. So the Ultras do serve a purpose in this fight for sure. And if Hero's caught off guard for even a moment, Neural Parasite Ultras, there are no Banelings, interestingly enough. The Ultras will be serving that kind of, that meat cleaver purpose underneath the army. And now Hero is maxed out. Serral is as well, but he doesn't have money in the bank. It's a bit of a tenuous position indeed. That is it. Hero has allowed Serral to build 200 supply, which is a dangerous proposition. Hero does seem reluctant to move forward quickly. I don't know if he wants to actually mine out this map, because that... He's not making too many efforts at moving forward. The Observer Oracle combo here. He does have 5 bases. The first bases are starting to mine out now, despite all the early aggression. He's killing his own Stalkers and Adepts because they're weak and sad. In order to build 2 Immortals, which are stronger anti-ground units. At this point, it quite literally is... Oh my god. Is everyone here? Have we all arrived? Yes, everyone have your knitting needles and plenty of energy. Okay. Make sure that you spread out your creep tumor usage, ladies. You don't want anyone coming in, but also use a little bit because feedback is annoying. Now, the queens out in front, they can tank the damage. Fires off a couple shots. Whoa, regicide. As the queens are slaughtered. So far, so good. As Hero is able to make some progress, Serral trying to move up, but with the revelation on the infestors, it gets a lot harder to move independently. That is a death ball of death balls out of Hero. He's got disruptors, he's got Templar, he's got well upgraded +3 attack carriers. Serral has +2/+2 for the queens and hydras. He's working on 1-1 in the air. This base, 201 supply now for Serral. The infestors, that is... Well, disruptor shot, clips through. This army is so clumped up. I haven't seen a death ball this literal in quite a bit. Well, the Spore Crawler surprisingly surviving for much of that fight. The Hydras come in, managed to snipe off, I think, 1 disruptor. No, all he's gotten is 1 Oracle. Serral hasn't lost that much. Serral's starting to bank here. Hero hasn't made any attempt to take the other bases over to the western side of the map. When we're in these type of games, I feel like cardinal directions are more dramatic than saying the left side, as there's such a huge map. Wow, that army is so clumped up. The disruptors to zone out, but there are Vipers. You might just get the Prism. Honestly, abduct on anything could be useful. But I think the premium here is Parasitic Bomb to start whittling down the carriers. Potentially the interceptors, but that's a bit more of a process, because you can't target the interceptors. The way you target them is usually Parasitic Bomb the carriers and then get on top of the carriers with your corruptors, so the interceptors are caught within the Parasitic Bomb. But that's a finicky process. Meanwhile, disruptor shots chunking up some of the army. Hero still beating around the bush here. A bunch of changelings. I don't know if he got them all. It's almost impossible to tell underneath that. Serral's waiting for him to make a mistake. Hero's trying to do the same. Yanks in the Oracle. Is that the only Oracle? Yeah, the Oracle's actually incredibly important. He'll get the hatch here. But without the revelation, it's a lot harder to reliably track the infestors. And Neural Parasite. Fungal's good, but Neural Parasite even better in these sort of fights. I'm a little surprised we don't see a mothership out of Hero. As even though it can be a liability, the ability to reposition, or honestly the cloaking/time warp, would probably be worth the supply at this stage. Go ahead. It's been so long since I've seen a straight-up Turtle Sky Toss game, but here we go. Fungal starts it off. The Ultras are closing in. Fires off a broadside. Feedbacks onto the Vipers, but the Parasitic Bomb, the Fungal, the Neural Parasite. Here comes Serral with everything, and he's taken some of Heroes too. But at the end of the day, the carriers survive, but every interceptor died to the wombo combo of Parasitic Bomb, Fungal, and everything else underneath. So even though Hero a Pyrrhic victory by keeping the carriers alive, Serral clearly wins the day with a decisive fight. I have to see it again. I want to go back. So, to start things off, the Fungal. He already queues up the Parasitic Bombs. The feedbacks are too late. Another Fungal on top. The Interceptors are fighting the Corruptors. Microbial Shrouds protect some of the Hydras. The Overseers wander in. The Disruptors fired off all their shots. The Ultras clean up the ground army. The Spellcasters, the Hydras, and the Corruptors clean up everything else. And Serral wipes the field. Serral has a lot less money in the bank. Hero can rebuild. Now, this is awkward. Boys, I called my friends. Well, the Predator drone, ends up not making it. Serral actually rebuilds mass Ultralisks. Serral's going to try to batter down the bases this time. He doesn't want to let Hero keep rebuilding. The Ultras, while they, once again, don't counter carriers, neither do carriers kill them particularly quickly with their maxed out armor. Even +3 carriers are struggling to really do more than a deep tissue massage for the Ultralisks. But it kind of felt like that fight was coming with Serral. Hero clearly clumping up his army so much that if everything comes together at the perfect timing, which pretty much only Serral is able to do. And speaking of, another parasitic bomb. The storms are good, but the corruptors, the ultralists, the infestors, and the hydras are better. And again, Serral shreds him. Hero with a huge charge lot warp in. Is there a greater spire? Yes, of course. And this army, don't you dare recall that army. The carriers, what are you doing here? Well, another massive orphan. Hero running through his bank right now. He recalls the carriers, which gets a half HP carrier out. A whole bunch of charge. There's a mothership. I don't know if a mothership as a comeback unit. It's more of a closer. But that's certainly a choice. Serral going to use caustic spray. Actually, not a single cannon here. Does he have any storms? Oh my god, I don't think he has the energy. So just melts the base. Hero does not have any fresh... Suddenly... Wow. What? Hero. You can't let it, like... Serral is second to absolutely none in these fights. I can't stress the level of control and patience that is required to execute that sort of fight. That is one of those that... it's like a... how do you draw an owl? First, draw a circle. Second, draw the rest of the fucking owl. Where it's just like, first, set up your army with a concave. Second, fungal, parasitic bomb, corruptors, hydras, microbial shroud, transfuse, ultras. Well, I mean, the supplies are even, but Hero has no income. Serral doesn't either. This game got kind of interesting. It just feels like the momentum is shifting so much towards Serral that it was over. But Hero had so much in the bank. And a mothership has arrived. I'm sorry, I was too busy living in the alternative universe rather than the current one, where Hero has rebuilt a very strong ground army. There's the passive, or the active cloaking from the mothership. On top of the Broodlords here. The Broodlords upgrades are good, but it's just infestors. So wait a second. The Zergling counterattack, slaughtering probes. But I don't think Hero's coming back. The infestors are coming through. He could use Neural Parasite. Yanks in the Warp Prism. Doesn't actually manage to knock it down. 25 probes down. The Zergling's just overrunning here. +3 shields, cannons. Forced to recall out. Doesn't want to get surrounded and killed. Serral's income is also hurting here. Like, Serral spent everything. Serral still has 9 infestors and 7 broodlords. But his anti-air is pretty weak. Which is fine, because there's only 1 carrier and a mothership. Hero has gone for the late-game ground army. By necessity, it seems. The infestor still an existential threat here. The neural parasite using the active cloak. He uses his own creep tumor for the broodlings there. Serral's actually Hero still holding it together. You know what? Those fights went so well, but this ground army is clearly doing much better. But Serral is pinning down one Archon at a time. He's chipping his way through. But the income is still heavily... actually, Serral's mining from that northern base. This base still has minerals, partially because Serral took it so late. And he's rebuilding the outside base as well, which wasn't quite mined out. Hero had never tried to expand to the left, I think, at all. There's burrowed lings at the northern bases, but... we'll see. He doesn't seem intent on expanding again. He wants to end this. He's learned his lesson, but was it too late? Hero's ground army is significantly stronger than Serral, but with the massive, almost overwhelming asterisk of infestors hanging over here. Or under, really, depending on where they are. Still a very strong ground death ball. The Broodlords tries to get a storm. The Templar not able to get in the prism while they're fungled. So, Infestor Broodlord starting to grind its way through here. The Mothership Time Warp doesn't slow the attack speed, just the movement speed. He blinks in, but Blinding Cloud combined with Fungal makes it impossible for the Stalkers to engage the Broods. And now it's time. Get over here. Abducts a flying city. The Mothership is chased down, and Serral knocks it out of the sky. Hero, what have you done? He turtled the carriers, and Serral... he had such a bank, it was almost enough. But almost doesn't cut it. Horseshoes, hand grenades, and facing Serral, it doesn't end up mattering. As Hero feels like he navigated a pretty narrow path to letting Serral back into this game after quite a decisive failure to end it early. At least on Serral's part. But I think a testament to both Serral's uncontested patience, his absolutely impeccable control, and also Hero's lack of acknowledgement for those things. Serral will, after 28.5 minutes and a neural parasite on that last Void Ray, in a remarkably low units loss game, be defeated again by Serral, putting him on a 3-0 lead. I don't know what he could have done differently. I just know it's a long list he could have attempted. God. He just turtled to carriers. I don't know. It still could have worked, and Hero may very well have thought it as his highest percentage play, which is not a good sign. If so. Serral putting on a masterclass of why you could never counter carriers. Though it looks so impressive while doing it. And going up to a 3-0 lead. So, it's going to be... is that a cannon rush? Is he cannon rushing him? Well, that's certainly a change in tone, isn't it? This is not a full-on cannon rush. This is like a Stargate Tempest proxy. Serral scouts it. He pulls... yeah, everyone! Everyone! Wow. He's gonna go for the cannons outright. Hero didn't quite wall them off. There's actually area to move in there. He goes for the outside cannon so the rallying drones can get the inside ones. This will kill some drones. He actually went for the cannons finishing first. This one's gonna finish. Some Zerglings are popping out. It's gonna cost Serral a bit, but he's gonna keep the natural. He's going for the probe here. Still a bit costly. The positioning not ideal. Yeah. 5 drones down. But Hero doesn't have an expansion behind this. So this did a little better than I thought it would. but it still is shut down with relative ease. And Serral has full knowledge of the other side. He knows there isn't a nexus. He knows the cybercore is on the way. So he was able to tailor his responses. That means he can dip into his drone count and take some losses. And he's still pretty quickly going to bounce back and have a better economy than Hero. Because he has 2 bases. He has 2 producing larvae. He's got queens. And he knows that Hero just now finished his cybercore and is just taking his nexus. So it's not a big investment. Losing 5 drones is honestly way more than I thought he would. Like maybe 1 or 2, but it actually ended up being a little awkward to engage there. But Hero with a decisive response, or I mean Serral with a decisive response. And now I think Hero's going back to proxy Stargate. Serral is watching that cybercore. The cybercore is not upgrading Warp Gate. Like blatantly so. As Hero slaps down a Stargate. Serral has the Zerglings left over. He checked. That's it. He just checked. And he saw the Warp Gate upgrading now. I think he's quite certain of what this is. God, Hero. I don't know what you do after that last game. I'm here to watch. I like to watch. Okay. I'm a bit of a bear. Those games make me upset. Not because of Hero's choices, but because of Serral. Because of how incredibly and impossibly difficult it is for essentially everyone else in the world, up to and including Raynor and Dark, to ever pull that off. I've watched Dark and Raynor both quite decisively die to Hero's carriers, Max Pax's carriers. But Serral he's like, I very simply just do the correct things in the correct order. Which are controlling 3 to 4 different spellcasters and 2 to 3 different sorts of units, all simultaneously, set up with impeccable timing, in order to take a marginal victory, which you can translate into another marginal victory, which you can translate maybe into a marginal victory in the entire game. It's like, oh yeah, write that down. Write that down somewhere. All right. Like and subscribe for my TEDx talk. Well, we'll see if Serral's ready for the oracles. And with no spores in position, he did not anticipate the Stargate. Kind of surprising here. Though he will knock out one of the oracles. Another one taking critical damage, so only losing 5 drones? Yeah, he was trying to build a gate. I don't know. There's +1 on the way. It feels like Hero's doing... He's throwing things in random directions and hoping something sticks. But Serral, on shutting down the Stargate, actually cancels the gases here. I don't know if he was trying to bait Hero or if he decided against it and more focused on the roaches. Glaives? Okay, glaive to depths. Quite late on the glaives, but we'll see if it works out for him. Hero's actually supply blocked right now because he lost the pylon powering the Stargate. Oh, okay. Yeah, Zerglings clearing up all the shenanigans on the map. Serral now up 8 workers. He's gonna deny the 3rd nexus. He'll probably commit. No, more adepts on the way. Which is kind of giving away the adepts. Another stasis. Serral. Minimalist response, only 2 drones frozen. Hero just can't find anything right now. Overseer coming in. The adepts have already been spotted. Roach speed is on the way, and plenty of roaches on the field. No chance of the Adepts actually cutting through him. In smaller numbers, maybe you can just overwhelm, but this is not small. No, don't do it. Oh my god. Hero. Well, he's just going for it. He might kill some of the drones. I don't know, Kev. He's gonna lose all his Adepts, more than likely. Maybe a recall. And once Serral has roach speed, well, he's lost some drones. But here's lost 15 Adepts to kill 10 drones. I guess they all weren't lost here, but Serral does hurt a little economically, but the army supplies, he has triple the army supply. It's not like Hero has like a Disruptor and upgraded Archons. No, this is Glaive Adepts and some non-blink Stalkers. So, Serral quite annoyed by the activities here today. And we'll just rip Hero's face off. And that'll probably set us up. Yeah, with a 4-0 situation. So even though this is a best of 9, we very well could have less games than your average best of 7. As Serral has Hero's number, and he's calling it repeatedly, distracting him from doing any sort of build that has a real chance here. The only game that has looked marginally close was Serral failing a cheese. Which, you know, it feels a bit on brand for Serral. Serral tries a dramatic early game cheese that cuts heavily into his economy. It doesn't work out, so he has to fight for 25 more minutes in order to bring it back. But when he's playing defense, he looks almost unstoppable. And right now, it's match point. Jimmy, please. In the top right of Alcyone, it's Serral. The finisher once again staring down the barrel of a decisive Premier Tournament victory, back in form. Especially going into IM Katowice. Definitely looking unstoppable. And on the other side, we have Hero. All those mind games and shenanigans that work against players like Dark, specifically Dark, really. Serral seems immune. Again, the only game that has looked close was when Serral kind of shot himself in the foot a bit. And even then. I don't know. What's it gonna be? He's checking the gold. Nope, it's not Dark. Serral's not taking the gold. Not yet. Stalker on the way. So usually you see an Adept, which leaves you the gas, or more gas in general, in order to get a Stargate quicker. The Stalker can drive away, but it is unlikely to kill the Overlord because of the little pervert pillar there. Overlords like to watch. Very creepy. But the Zergling may slip through. Does the Stalker is it fast enough? I don't think so. It may very well see the Twilight. Gonna head to the mineral line. Nope, not quite. But he saw the robotics facility, which is a bit of a giveaway. And this time he's gonna try the Glaive Adepts. All right. It's a direct into Glaive Adepts. No hesitation. Absolutely, just straight up Adept, right? Neeb would be proud. One of the oldest tricks in the Legacy of the Void book, but still a strategy that it's one of those that even if you know it's coming, you can easily over or undercommit as Zerg. Last game was clearly not an ideal example of the Adept build. That was the leftover adepts from whatever early game shenanigans Hero was doing. It was not hitting as sharply and early as possible, ideally before there are even roaches on the field. He's rushing it home here. And without roaches, the Zerglings get cut to shreds, I say. As those resonating glaives, the attack speed makes it almost impossible to find a good fight against them. I think Serral is getting more and more suspicious, as he's going up to 40 drones, which is about the limit before you kind of have to build units. There we are, warping in some more. And in case it wasn't clear before, he's already got the roaches on the way. So this comes down to execution now. Will Serral have enough units in position to minimize the losses without cutting too much into his follow-up economy? Hero just gonna start wailing on the hatchery, while the Warp Prism hanging out, going for another warp in. He actually blocked out with the temporary spore. Gonna kill one of the queens here, actually cutting through the roaches. Only shades a few adepts away, kind of juggling them there. Kills another queen, but the spore block, a temporary door that still makes the Protoss jealous. But he does have to remove the spore in order for the Zerglings to get out. So it is a bit more awkward than a supply depot, but still more effective than one zealot that they tell to stand very still. Somewhere in between here. A spore will block. Can go through units, but not buildings because of science reasons. Hero. Remember, during all of this, Hero actually has a few more workers. Serral has committed a lot to defending this, but he's getting more and more success when it comes to shutting it down. Brenda, who was supposed to put creep between the main and the natural? This is like the oldest thing. How many times? How many times? Karen, we needed the energy for it. How many times do I have to tell you? I say this every week. I don't... Sorry, I blacked out for a moment. The Adepts, still in the prism here, keeping Serral busy. Behind it, Immortals and more Adepts, as Hero's feigning another base. Meanwhile, Serral, he does have the Overlord spotting all this, but not quite close enough. He hasn't seen the Immortals, which is the key part. Observer here. The Immortals are by far the most dangerous part of all this. Yeah, this third base, optimistic for Hero. I don't think he's too committed to the idea. Serral actually building some drones like, yeah, well, nope, that's enough of the drones. He's gonna need Ravagers. He's going to need Zerglings. He's gonna need as many units as possible. Serral just has all his Overlords hanging out here, which is an indicator of how stressed he's been, that the Overlords are hanging out like this is a Gold League game. Well, wouldn't have that many Overlords. Be already dead to the Adepts, but that's not really the point. Meanwhile, the Adepts, the Spore gets into the wall. And I guess there's no anti-air, so the Overlords can hang out if they'd like, but he's just gonna try to bash his way through. No upgrades for either side. And the Adepts on top of everything. The Immortals punching through. The Zerglings drawing some of the fire here. On top of the Ravagers, point blank. It's very hard to tell what's going on because, oh, the Spore Crawler is for once unrooted. And, well, the Roaches, it's only Roaches and Queens left here. The Adepts behind the mineral line. Serral doesn't have that many drones to fall back on. And for now, the Immortals living up to their names. He juggles one back. And there are more Adepts in the main. And Hero making a lot of progress here. Serral's still only on 43 drones. He has a lair, but no lair tech. And Hero, the Adepts do get cleaned up. Hero has managed to take a third. 4 Immortals now. 11 kills, 9 kills. The Roaches just getting pounded to pieces by the Immortals, and the Adepts helping to slice through the Zerglings, making a huge difference in these fights. Immortals may be able to blast, yeah, easily blast the Spore Crawler. The hatchery itself is vulnerable. The Adepts cancel the shade. The Roach Ravager drawn back in, but a 5th Immortal has joined the fray. And Serral doesn't have any more tech on the horizon. If he loses this base, he loses a lot of production as well. The Corrosive Biles Oh, actually cleaning up some of the Adepts. Ravagers don't take that bonus damage from the Immortals. They're not armored units, but they are pretty decent targets. Some Zerglings from the back, starting to surround. Hero juggling the Immortals capably here. There's no more Adepts, though. And Serral may be able to clean this up. Oh, no. Hero ends up losing everything on the ground. He can't fit in a Warp Prism, including that last Immortal. 4 Immortals and 46 Adepts have been harmed in the making of this game so far. Serral only on 43 drones. He is kind of desperate. Double Robo Bay clearly tells you what direction that Hero feels like he needs to go. There really aren't that many units left for Serral. Even though he's defended, we do have to ask at what cost. Roach... Double Robo. I mean, Hero has 61 workers here. Serral trying to sneak back over 50. There are 2 red health Immortals in that prism. He was chrono boosting the Twilight, but he wasn't getting any Twilight upgrades, so maybe Hero was thinking about Blink. I think it would be Blink here. Charge kind of overlaps with the Adepts. A Roach Ravager. If he could get the Prism, which is, you know, Hero notorious for it. One way or another, if he could get the Prism, that would be very helpful. Baneling Nest on the way. The one thing that maybe Serral could try, a Spire. He doesn't have... He has an army that is much better on defense than offense, as he knows he's up against an entrenched third base here. Hero, again, just kind of sitting back. He's not turtling the carriers this time, but I do get a little antsy every time I see Serral left alone, as it doesn't take too much for him to drag himself back into it. So we'll see if Hero puts together another timing. He's kept him at bay thus far, but I'm so stressed about that prism. The Zerglings on the 4th base. Stalkers should... Well, they're going to get a lot of the Zerglings, but... Does get it canceled here. And here... Serral now has 4 bases, and Hero's just now taking his 4th. So... a dangerous timing. The Disruptor's on the way, the Chrono Boost on the supply block to Robo. Hero! But a couple Ruptor shots could change the course of this series. And here they are, revealed for the first time. Fires a broadside. Yeah, not ideal. Meanwhile, Corrosive Biles, but 2 more Ruptors. And, of course, they're cooling down. Or up. I'm not exactly sure with the Disruptors which one is more accurate, but... Another Ruptor gets a Creep Tumor, kind of accidentally. Serral's gonna get denied on his gold base, which he finally took. And just rotating around his Hero. Still in an army that's very hard to deal with. He doesn't have Bane speed, so the Disruptors can continue zoning. The most dangerous force fields in the game. Falling back, but Disruptor shot. Gets some of the Banelings. A lot of the Banelings caught off creep. As long as Hero doesn't shoot himself in the Stalker feet with his own Ruptors. No, he's making a lot of progress here. A supply gap is widening, as Serral just never had the economy for an overwhelming amount of units. There's a shot. Gets some of the Ruptors. The Zerglings out in front, where the Disruptors really can't get those effective shots. The Ravagers still chunking their way through. One of the Disruptors gets taken out. 11 probes to Banelings. But wait, there's more into the 3rd base here. But Serral's 4th is going to be taken out. Hero! 26, 28 probes to the Banelings, which means he actually has to do a lot of damage here, because Serral is now with a significant worker lead, but the Disruptor count is so damn high, he never really gets the juicy endgame hit. Oh my god. Hero stays in the game. Wow. Hero stays in the game for a few extra seconds and controls the disruptors and finally gets a juicy hit. What a mind game from Serral. Even when he loses, he leaves the game at an awkward timing that leaves Hero uncomfortable. He's like, no, let me get the hit. But he knows which way the shots are going. And at the end of the day, Hero finally strikes back with a decisive, adept timing, keeping control of the game. And it's very important he killed him right there, because otherwise Serral was already doing a lot of counter damage. But the disruptors, the strong choice, and getting aggressive, getting up in his face, required to keep control of the situation. So now finally, Hero is on the board. He just needs 4 more in a row in order to take it home. Jimmy, please. Thank you, by the way, to Masters Coliseum and World Team League for putting on these incredible matches. A lot of the matches you've seen recently, and I'm sure we'll see in the near future, at least up until I am Katowice, from this tournament, which has produced some incredible games from all across the world. And thank you for watching. You made it this far. This has not been the shortest series. And if Hero's able to turn it around, well, it may very well end up being the longest one. I think the longest was ever Serral versus Maru from some years ago, which almost reached the 3-hour mark. But we need a couple more Sky Toss games to get there. But I hope you've enjoyed. Protoss versus Zerg is certainly a dynamic matchup lately. But again, Serral just... this time, Hero caught him a little off guard, a little early with the Adepts. And the Immortal follow-up, I think, is what sealed the deal. That was what we were looking for in Game 2, when Serral ended up taking damage because of his own kind of mistakes. Well, not really mistakes, but just a failed all-in. But there was no follow-up from Hero, at least not in a timely manner. So Serral was kind of allowed to go about his business. This is quite a vulnerable pylon, isn't it? And his business, while pretty standard, is good. Even that last game, Hero, it ended up being quite a thin timing to finish off Serral, because Serral he just surgically selected the correct way to eviscerate Hero's economy for minimal cost. It was like 12 banelings split between 2 bases, and it took out about half of Hero's probes. So if that disruptor push had not been a game ender, Serral likely would have been in the lead. God, I feel like Hero's drunken brawler Protoss just doesn't stack up against Serral that well. Then again, no one does, but... We'll see. That's another card you're not going to be able to pull easily again. And this time around, it's going to be a Stargate on Oceanborn. I'm not even sure the Adept Glaive's timing was really map-dependent that time around for Hero. Just, it was more series-dependent and based on how things have shaken out thus far. The Stargate remains the staple that gives you scouting, potential damage, defense. The Void Ray is for denying scouting and for, also defense. It's just a costlier choice. Costs way more supply. And has less DPS than the Oracles while lit up. So usually, the Oracles maintain their place. 4 Adepts is going to be the choice. Quite a significant number. Must be respected by the Queens and the Zerglings. Overlord gets in and sees everything right between 4:30, 5 minutes, right when Protoss is deciding on how they're going to climb the tech tree. And that'll give Serral most of the information he needs.
The enemy has discovered us.
Yep, that's what happens. And then the Twilight and the Forge. So, while he doesn't know if it's going to be Charge or if it's going to be Blink, I guess there's the off chance of Glaive to Depths, but it's very off at this point. The correct answer for Zerg is, you know, solidifying your economy, getting a Roach War in, and then continued scouting in order to determine how much you need of Roaches, Zerglings. Roach is not so great against Blink Stalkers, but much more consistent against Char's lots. So, the Oracle's burning through the Queens. There's a Zergling just... Wow. Okay. Not sure that told Serral anything. There's going to be +1 melee, but also Roach speed on the way. Still hedging his bets. Zergling's overrun. And he has to come back and defend the third. And I think if he warps in a bunch of charge lots here, that's... the Oracles are forced to light up all 3 of them, which is a bit sloppy out of Hero. Just like your mom said, turning the Oracles off and on again. That's 25 energy each time. Don't waste that. Just 1 Oracle. Just leave 1 Oracle on. Another Oracle, making 4 Oracles. And we'll see if there's even more Oracles behind that. Because if you look at the prophecy which foretold of the Loracles beforehand, I'm not even being rhetorical about it, but I don't mean the Boracle. But indeed, additional Oracles. Just going to try to burn his way through with the charge lots. I feel Serral is quite prepared for this, but you get the wrong angle, and those Oracles start churning their way through the Queens, and then suddenly you don't have any real anti-air to deal with it. And they had a lot of DPS against the Roaches, but... Brenda? I don't... They're right over there. Yes, come on down. Again? Yes, again. Always again. Just a bit. Ugh. That is a lot of charge lots. He's got 24 Zealots against 23 Roaches, but the Oracle's definitely the kicker here. Splitting off some charge lots to zone out the Roaches. Banelings coming in, but not enough of them to really whittle them down. And actually, the charge lot's cutting up the drones. Gets 13 of them. And it looks like the Oracles will burn through the rest of the Queens. And Hero... with... well, the Roach count is still so high. The Oracles are mostly out of energy. Serral will slap together a defense with the reinforcements before the charge lots can cut through and do critical damage. Hero taking a 4th base in an optimistic location. The Oracles will be tracking things down. Another Oracle on the way out. An Overseer just watching in the main. He does have a Contaminate ready as well. If he uses it on the blink, that could actually be very annoying. Yeah, the Chrono Boost. I'm waiting for it. Alright, Serral will notice momentarily. He's pulling back.
Base is under attack.
Our forces are under attack.
Adrenal gland. Wow, he finished a hive already? Another Evo chamber. Spine crawlers. See what he decides to do with the Overseer. That's the most exciting part for me. One of the only players, if not the only player, who reliably uses Contaminate when he has the opportunity and prepares for it. Yep. And no +2, at least not in a very timely manner for you. Hero is... does he have a Templar Archives? No. Adding another... There's 2 forges, but it's just Blink Stalker Charge Lot, which is certainly a bold choice. Up against the mass Roach Zergling Baneling, I am not optimistic. Really, Archons and Immortals tied this all together. So we'll see if he's able to keep the pressure on Serral, who already has a hive, who already has adrenal glands. It feels like half the composition he needs, but Serral is maxed out. And there's no reason to sit around. He's got nothing really to wait for besides these upgrades, but if he finds an opportunity, the upgrades are kind of irrelevant. The Oracles will light up, help the defense, and with every one of these 4 Oracles engaged, Serral will pull back for now, but the banelings are splitting. He gets through, he looks away, and now a dozen probes are dead. He destroyed a base, no cancel to the north, as he pulled back and rolled 2 sets of banelings in on both sides to kill a dozen more probes. Ultraless Cavern is on the way. Serral. Well, that's a lot of stalkers. 36 of them. Against Adrenalings, though. They're about to finish 2-2. The Oracles. 21 more probes dead to banelings. Serral just undercutting Hero's defense. He isn't really setting up his bases very well to deal with this. He has some kind of cursory pylons at the front, but Serral still has 85 drones and 5 bases. More Zerglings coming in. While he's engaging the army, he's easily going to be able to overrun that base. The Banelings leading the charge, making it that much harder for the Stalkers to do anything. The Zerglings cancel the base. The Stalkers forced to retreat on both fronts, warping some more in. The choke point helping out a bit, but the Zerglings are overrunning. The Banelings at the back. The Oracles, not activated, just threatening here. But we'll see when the Ultralists hit the field. At this point, there's really no reason for him against the mass Stalker. Zerglings continue to come in. Serral engaging, cutting down a few dozen Stalkers. Banelings rolling in. The Roaches, mostly expendable. Zerglings trickling through as well. But Hero starting to take better trades in these fights. There's a drone in the middle of everything, taking the wrong path, the wrong detour. And the Stasis to back things up. I don't think Serral quite noticed. He actually pulls back in time, only gets a few units knocked out here. But the Blink Stalkers are continuing forward. Hero's aggression starting to pay off a bit as he maintains 4 bases. His probe count still healthy enough, and another good Stasis holding the line for now. Those units will have to be dealt with eventually. Serral down to 5 queens, 1 Ultra on the way, but Hero's actually in range of the hatchery. Banelings rolling in, getting good splash onto the Stalkers. The units at the back about to come out of stasis. Oracles get taken out by the reinforcing queens, but 14 probes to a counterattack. The Lynx and Banes are coming in, and Hero, the shields are mostly gone on most of these Stalkers. The rest of them badly bruised as well. And even though Hero almost killed the hatchery, he's lost a bunch of probes at home. And the damage, oh, it's not enough. Oracles still. The stasis helpful, but also potentially a liability. The Stalkers blinking in and out of everything. Ultralisk about to complete. And they do have chitinous plating, and about to have Ultralisk speed as well. Take notes, Rainer. The Banelings pop out and hit the Zealots, which were waiting for them, which is, you know, a bit hardcore. The Ultras on the field. The Zerglings are going to be in front for a while until they're cleared up, if they're cleared up. Serral now denying any additional bases out of Hero, who's struggling to hold on to what he has. The Zealots trying not to throw themselves into the Banes, mostly succeed, at least succeed to be somewhat efficient. The Oracles try to protect the Stalkers. More Zerglings coming in. Serral up 70 supply right now. More Ultras on the way. More Zerglings running through. Hero is falling apart. He's getting eviscerated by the Ultras. He's getting gutted by the Zerglings. The Banelings have already melted their way through the mineral lines, and a few Blink Stalkers might harass the Ultras on their way out. But Serral is on his way up to winning game number 5. And this Masters Coliseum, he might have been the favorite, and he continues to be so. As Hero desperately micros Blink Stalkers around, but the Zerglings are just faster. Fights them as they're warping in and then backs off. There's no sort of infestors to hold down the Stalkers, but there are plenty of Zerglings to chase them. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. Zerglings everywhere. Zerglings in the main. Ultras in the 4th. Zerglings killing the 3rd. More Zerglings on the Stalkers, and with 100 Zerglings and a half dozen Ultras. GG, WP, a decisive victory. The finisher brings it home with another comfortable Premier Tournament victory. Hero just did not stack up. Still, he gave himself a fighting chance. Some good games, but clearly a deserving victory for Serral. He will be the champion of the Masters Coliseum, the first premier tournament of 2024. And it wasn't particularly close. But I hope it made your day, significant chunk of it, a little bit better. Thank you again to Masters Coliseum and the World Team League. Make sure to check out their events live if you got the opportunity. But if you don't, or you just enjoy here, you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. We're working on 200,000 subscribers. Well, if you're watching this in the future, 2 million. Thank you for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Make sure to check out the second channel as well if you want some more gameplay, commentary on other games, stuff like that. But, Serral. That's all I gotta say about that. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. I'll see you soon. Stay chill.